Welcome back. Toronto District School Board and Girl Guides of Canada have suspended new trips to the United States, citing uncertainty around who is allowed into the country. Ken, do you think the president is sending the wrong message to our neighbors?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say I haven't heard anything about a travel ban from Canada. But, with that said, I also think that is Trump sending the wrong message to our neighbors? Well, maybe. But I'll tell you who's really exaggerating that message is the media. The media is screaming about, it's a travel ban, banning every single Muslim coming into the country. No, it's a small list of countries based upon a list which was originally established by the Obama administration as high-risk countries.
And it's not necessary, and it's a certain group within those people that are naturalized citizens, right, can go back and forth, and
now it's all getting blown way out of proportion. Some of this is in part due to probably Trump's politicizing of all of it, but like I said, a lot of it also is the media. I really feel the biggest damage with this is being done by the media, not the politicians.
You really think? You don't think Baghdad Bob has any part to that when he sits there every day and denies everything that's going on and won't answer direct questions?
I'm going to make an exception with Baghdad Bob, because Baghdad Bob, he talks to the media, and yes, he politicizes everything, definitely exaggerates things.
Okay.
And he definitely doesn't calm the waters. But, and for anybody who's wondering who Baghdad Bob is, we're talking about the White House press secretary.
Sean Spicer.
So, but, I think that a lot of it is just getting completely overblown.
Well, so the Obama administration did have in place the list of these countries, but it was for increased vetting. They're not just outright trying to block people for some period of time. I actually would question, and I do realize that the executive branch that has control over borders and customs, and borders and customs has a lot of power, but I don't think it sets a good precedent. The same way that interning Japanese Americans during World War II did not set a good precedent, and the same way that a lot of other things did. People who are coming from these countries, and I can speak with a certain amount of expertise knowing what it's like at least to come from other areas, like from behind the Iron Curtain. People who go through a fairly extensive process. They don't just show up at the U.S. Embassy, get a rubber stamp, and off they go. We haven't had any terrorists from these countries. Actually, all the terrorists that we've had in this country really have been radicalized here. So I think that there's more to it. And I think it got a little bit overblown? Yes, but I think there is a liberties concern there too. Now, going back to the Canadians, really what we have with these concerns is they may have students that are immigrants. They basically don't want to have a student on a class trip be blocked at the border. I do think, traveling back and forth to Canada on a fairly regular basis, I think that's not the border that we should be so worried about. We've always had a good relationship with Canada. They're probably the closest country to us in most ways in the world. You don't hear about hordes of Canadians, running across the forests and mountains to get into the U.S.
Well, it's just because we don't have the webcam set up to watch for them like we do down at the Mexico border. We need to build a wall to keep out the snow Mexicans, Colin.
Well, I think there was a proposal for the Canadians to build a lumber wall.
Can I jump in and say that the opinions expressed on the flip side are those of our guests that don't represent Smart TV or Antietam Cable Television? May I also jump in and say, Colin, all evidence to the contrary on the commander-in-chief having control of the borders. At this point, I would say the court system does, because clearly, perhaps there was some concern with his first executive order, but with the second one, there's a lawful order that is in tune with statute that was passed by Congress. The only reason it got overturned at this point by the courts is because of what they thought he might do based on things he said in the campaign.
But don't you
That's
think
a problem
if he
in and by
stopped saying
itself.
those things now repeatedly and tweeted about them and talked about them, that you could get something?
My point is, what he said in the campaign is inconsequential, because what politician doesn't lie in a campaign?
A lot. I take offense at that.
All right,
Really?
what national politician? How about
Okay.
that?
That is a good distinction. That is a good
I
distinction.
mean, seriously, a lot of those folks that
What
take
presidential
positions.
candidate
There you go.
hasn't lied in a campaign?
Well, there's some that lie, and then there's some that proverbially lie on everything that they say almost. I mean,
But he's out of office now.
he's in office now.
Barack.
The day will come when you'll say, "My, I wish we had him back."
No, I don't think so.
Wait
Any
and
rate.
see.
No, you
When
know,
we're all glowing in the dark.
I am going to say, all joking aside, I do not consider Canada a threat. I don't consider students from Canada a threat. I think it's absolutely silly, some of the messages that we're actually sending. I think we're doing more damage with the publicity than the actual damage that's actually being done with the policy.
By the policy. I think you're right on that.
Don't
And
you
I-
think kids would have a apprehension to come here not knowing what's going to happen if some are from out of the country,
Well,
some
absolutely. And I think that's why
Yes.
they're.
I don't care what you do in this world. There are going to be unintended consequences, and this may be one of
Absolutely.
them. But let me just say this to you. Looking at the past administration and his refusal to rightly call Islamic terrorists Islamic terrorism and many, many other things, I think this guy is scaring the heck out of some countries, and I don't necessarily think that's always a bad
Well,
thing.
maybe we'll replace that and start saying radical Islamic terrorists now, but maybe Trump should be talking about the Russians a little bit. So I think
think
you
he
have,
has been.
about which one am I going to meet with next?
Well, and there is, I think, a lot that's going to come out, hopefully over the next few weeks. But I think, Ron, you're going to get the last word on that. Up next, our panel takes a closer look at Neil Gorsuch. Stay tuned.